So, anyone that has followed my channel since the beginning would know that my second video I ever did was on this exact series. And that video was pretty bad. Honestly, I was just starting. I wasn't taking it seriously. I was barely uploading. And that was around a year and a half ago, before I really started. And this is one of those series that, or films specifically, I watch at least 2-3 times a year. Ever since I seen it for the very first time 4 years ago. It was a total coincidental accident. I was with my ex and we went to Best Buy and I was looking for a good anime film to watch. Didn't know anything about it. Picked it up. Purchased it. Bought a 6-pack. She bought a bottle of wine. And the tears were flowing. It is one of those films that will just capture every heartstring you have and just tear on them. And not in an extremely bad way either. I still cry to this film. I just rewatched it again today for the second or third time this year already. It's one of my 11 10 out of 10s, or 10 out of 10s, one of the two. It just has this special place in my heart that I will never ever be able to fill as a anime viewer. And you know, even if you don't like anime that much, this is one that you should just watch in general. It's got so many messages into it, you know, and it's not one that's going to force feed you or hold your hand. The characters aren't strong. We've got our main character, obviously Makia, who at the beginning is a shy, timid girl who is alone, and her friend Lelia is this free-spirited, brave girl, and they are these race of people called the Lorphs, who are, I wouldn't call them elves, but they're like these eternal beings that don't age very well. And by that I mean the fact that they look young for many, many years, hundreds of years to be. It doesn't really specify how long. However, they live for a very long time, and they are alone in their little cul-de-sac village because they don't fit in with humanity, obviously. And they spend their time making these hibials. And hibials are these cloths that are beautiful, and they all have these secret messages in them. And they're almost memories, to be specific, and they are just beautiful. We get to know a few characters right off the bat, like I said, with Makia, our main character, and Lelia, her friend, the free spirit. And keep in mind, like I said, about their personas, because those two flip very much by mid-end of this series. Or film, to be specific. I'm sorry, I keep calling it a series. And we also have Krim, who is Lelia's love interest at this point in time. And he is very happy-go-lucky and stuck in his ways type of character. And that's another aspect that I really do love a lot about this series, is there's a lot of like growth, development, and if you don't grow and develop with the times, the world has a way of taking you out. So we have another character that's very, very important for the beginning of this series, and she's the elder. And we don't really get to see her much, but her name is Racine. And she has this like saying to the lines of, you know, don't ever fall in love because you will truly be alone. And a lot of those Lorphs take it to face value from what I understand from this series. Because if you don't take a chance, you're going to be more alone, just ostracizing yourself off from the world and not taking chances and seeing everything. And right from the start, we get this kingdom that is invading their island, and they have these dragons that are like this symbol of just fear and power. But the king himself wants his son to have an offspring with one of the Lorphs so that their dynasty could grow and control everything. But that's another kind of like main message, I guess, is that nothing lasts forever. And so they abduct Lelia, but we don't know that right off the bat, I suppose. And we don't exactly know what happens to the rest of the Lorphs, even though he does say to slay all the men. But from what I understand, pretty much all of them do die. And right from square one, Makia gets just dragged out of there. And pretty much starting from the bat, we get to see Makia find her truly greatest challenge in her life. And that's finding Ariel, and she falls for him, literally physically almost right over him while he's in his mother's hands being clutched by her dead cold rigor mortis. And at the same time, metaphorically, because now that she's been separated from her whole life, this is a chance for her to not truly be alone. And realistically, for both of them, because his mother's dead, her whole life is dead, and this is where a new beginning has started. They get to be each other's hibbials, if you will. And we also get to meet this other character who is named Barlow, and he is half Lorph and half human. And at that aspect, it's one of those things where he even just, because he couldn't stay in the village because he's halfy, but at the same time he can't really fit into human society. It's a really kind of weird paradoxical vibe that you get. And she pretty much keeps Ariel, and she's trying to find somewhere to stay, and she finds this family who is Mido and Lang and her other son, which really isn't that important because we get him for maybe 2 or 3 lines, and that's it. Though we get to see Makia find support, and she's learning about work and lessons, because another aspect I really kind of forgot to add is Makia, what the whole loneliness, she didn't really have a mother or father or family, but Lelia did, so she didn't really know anything, and she gets shelter and her first taste of loss, all while finding her real purpose of just being a mother to Ariel. And seeing his first steps and his first words and his first crush, and it's just so much to take in at first, but at the same time, the kingdom's kind of dealing with this like political prowess, and just poor Lelia's being alone now. She's the one that is truly alone, while Maki is the one that is finding love and family. And it's just this weird like slip swap of just everything going on. And it's like, while everything's starting to come up, it's kind of ending before it even begins, because people are finally kind of catching on at the time that that maybe Makia is this now Lorph, because she's been the same age for a few years now, because while this is all going on, there was quite a few time skips going on throughout the series, and most of them, from what I can kind of tell, are like 3-4 year time skips. But we also see that Makia has been making hibials, and she's been meeting this guy who's been selling them, that she met through Mido, who is this great role model for her in the end. She is so lucky to have stumbled onto that farm and to be able to witness such a role model for her to look up to raise Ariel from now on. And before any of like the next conclusive things happen, like I said, we find out about Lelia through this hibial, and we kind of find out that she's in this castle, and she is going to be marrying the prince and having a child. But before that, we get our first like actual things. Like, we get to see this girl named Dita, and she's like teasing Ariel about the fact that, you know, he's so freaking crushed on her mother or his mother, and like it's really cute, but that will come into fruition later. And at the same time, we get our first death and realization, and that is the dog that the family had. And Makia finally realizes, you know, that like, I'm gonna die after every single one of you. I'm gonna outlive everyone, and it's gonna freaking hurt, and it's gonna suck. Maybe the elder was right. However, we get lucky, and Lang follows her out there after burying the dog, and he tells her, you know, moms don't cry. You got to be tough. And so she makes a promise to Ariel that she's not going to cry, and she's going to be a tough mother. And that's something that's going to be huge into the plot of this. And while this is all going down, she comes home, and Ariel was waiting for her mom to come home outside the doorstep while this all was happening. And she picks him up and puts him to bed right away. And as that's going on, Krim's trying to save Lelia and get her back to the old ways. And he's kind of the one that's like, in my opinion, what the, I guess, elder was talking about, falling in love and everything. Because like, it almost makes you feel more like being stuck in those old ways is more falling in love and not being able to adapt with the times. However, when that happens, we learn Lelia is kind of going with the flow of life. And like I said, she is pregnant. So with the positions flipping and everything again, we get this little, how do I word this? Not a time skip, but a little bit. And Krim is in like denial because like he doesn't want to change, you know. And when that happens and he finds out that Lelia's pregnant after Makia tells him, after they try to save her, he packs up his things and just leaves and says that, I'm sorry, Makia, but you're in the way. And obviously, Lelia, with the encounter with Makia that I kind of just butchered in there a little bit because I'm going off the hip here, was, you know, Makia did try to save her, but she didn't want to be saved because now she has a new chance in life herself as well. And at this point, I don't believe, from understanding the story, that she knows that Makia is a mother. But at the same time, I feel like she does. And so we come to find out, obviously, Makia has to find work and food and shelter now that she's not living with this family after sailing the sea to go find Lelia after reading that Hibial. And it's obviously really hard because she's a child and looking young, and just every obstacle she could find, no one wants to hire her, but she never gives up, even when, you know, they're broke and the only material she has left for Hibials to make money have been wrecked while Ariel was staying home, and he was trying to make her happy. And as low as it got, you know, it's another one of the things that is very important to the plot of this story, and especially because it says mom on it. And as promised, she didn't cry even when things were getting that tough. She might have slightly teared, but she did not actually cry. And this is where things change a little bit. Even if for the same motive of protecting his mom, we get another little time skip again, and now he's like a teenager, and we've got, you know, puberty, and he's got a job, and he's being a teenager, and everyone thinks that she's his girlfriend, and he can't really take it anymore. And through all this craziness, we find actually at the bar because Makia is now a bartender, and they've been kind of just moving cities from what you can tell from context. However, we finally get to see Lang again after all these years, right? And he's now working for the city guard, and he's like, the city that we used to live in, it's just not good right now. And so my brother moved and I moved, and you kind of catch up and tell him how everything's been. And it's so touching up to this point. But we kind of switch back to the kingdom, and we see that all those dragons are dying. Like, a shit ton of them are dying. And the Lorphs are all slowly falling apart. And Lily has given birth to her daughter, which she can't even see because they just want to keep that bloodline going while she gave birth to a daughter. And so you can't keep the bloodline going, so they're obviously disappointed. And they don't really abandon the daughter, but they don't really praise her either, and they don't even want to try with Lelia again because, the princes are disappointed. And so they pretty much just lock her up to rot like an old toy in her chambers. And they never see her, and she can't see her daughter, and she's not free, and she's trapped. And like, it is just, they both at the same time, Lelia and Makia get to kind of like experience what it's like to be alone, because Makia gets an offer from Lang, and he's trying to, he's like, I'll protect you and I'll date you. But at the same time, Makia still wants to protect Ariel, even though Ariel's going through this teenage stuff and he wants to be independent and he wants to be away from his mother. She still wants to protect him. And Ariel comes home drunk and confused, and he's hitting on his mother, and he pushes her, and the hibio falls down and gets a little burnt, and that means everything to her. So she kind of throws him on the ground a little bit, obviously in defense of the hibio, because Ariel's being a butthole. And at that point, Ariel tells Makia he doesn't see her as his mom, but in the end, we come to find out a little bit right after this that he's trying to protect her because he doesn't feel strong, and everything's coming off wrong, and he's looking to become a knight. And realistically, the last time she sees him one more time after this, but she sees him telling all of this to Lang, and Lang was pissed knowing the fact that Ariel told Makia all of this stuff, that he didn't want to see her, and that, he was going to leave. And obviously, no doubt he should be mad about that. Makia sacrificed everything to take care of Ariel. But once he admits that, and Ariel hears it while trying to come up there real quick, and nobody notices, she understands. She understands. She hates it, but she understands. And he comes up to pack his stuff up, says goodbye, leaves, does a double take, and is gone. And now they are both alone as well. And as bad as everything is, and how broken she is, she still doesn't cry. But when Lane comes there to pick her up, she's gone. And as time passes, the kingdom only has one dragon left. The morale is gone. But a Lorph has been spotted. And we find Ariel is becoming an adult now, and he is a dad. So we obviously get another time skip. And the amount of respect he has for Ariel now that he's older, it's just shining. And we find out that stupid Krim has been the one that abducted Ariel before Lane could get there. And that makes me mad. Because Krim, he's a piece of work, but he's trying to get Lelia for a third time. I did skip that detail. He tries to get her a second time, and so Lelia thinks he's dead because her guard pretty much murdered all of them, all the Lorphs that tried to take her. However, for some reason, he got away. And it's just like crazy. And he makes her cut off her hair where the dye used to lie, from when she was doing all that work for Ariel. And because her hair has grown at least another couple feet, because like I said, he's an adult now and having a child. And this whole time she's still holding on to that hibio that he made, Ariel, of course. And as things are, going down, we get to see Dita, which was the girl that was bullying and crushing on Ariel, is the mother of Ariel's child. And it was just by chance with her moving to the area, and good for her, But before anything can really be said, the war starts with the kingdom. We come to find out that all these other kingdoms are coming to take over, because nothing lasts forever. And while that's all being said and done, the horse that Lelia and Krim are actually riding in on gets hit, and Ariel leaves because she doesn't want anything to do with this kingdom raid bull crap that Krim's trying to do to save Lelia, and Lelia doesn't even really want saving in the first place. However, where one thing is ending, another is beginning, and Dita's water's breaking, right? And with Krim getting into the kingdom and seeing all of this war, and it's just insane. We'll get back to that though, because on Lelia's end, for the first time in ages, unlike our boy Krim that we all hate, she's accepted the changes of life. And because she now has a daughter, even though she can't see her, she's accepting that things can't go back to the way they were and life is moving on. And Krim can accept that. And he tries to kill her and himself, but her guard takes him out, stabs him right in the gut. And now he's the one that's truly alone, after trying to change things back to the way that he thought they should be in tradition. We'll get more into that in a bit, but it's just the way that the show does all of their metaphors and everything, and messages, they're all so freaking good. I just can't even but all while in coincidence, and fate behold, Makia runs into Dita, and she's giving her and her grandchild all the motivation to get into this crazy world, all while Dita all she cares about, my bad, is the child, and all selfless as a mother can be. The blood from the birth and the blood from the battle are pouring out, and we get to see the symbolism and metaphoricalness through that. And going through all the good times and the hard times of Ariel growing up, she finds Ariel on the battlefield after all of this, alone, injured, and lets him know everything's okay with Dita and the baby, all while thinking of that day when she saved him and how he was grasped so hard onto his mother, and the way that she got to feel the grasp of Ariel's child under her fingers. And it's so just beautiful. While Ariel finally tells her how he feels, he's finally calling her mom, and it's so amazing the way that everything came full circle. Now he gets to experience what it's like to be a parent, and even if it's from blood, or he, with Ariel, even not by blood, just being able to experience that moment, and it's so beautiful. And now it's time for him to build his Hibial. But Maquia, my bad. Maquia pretty much, to the gist of, says this line that is so great. It's pretty much, I'm gonna butcher it because I didn't exactly quote it, but it's like, I don't care if it isn't mom, you can call me whatever. I'll always be happy the fact that you are my son, and that you want me and think about me. And that's pretty much all they get to talk, and Makia leaves to go see Lelia now, because I think deep down she knows that Krim wasn't going to be able to do it, being so stuck in his ways and holding her prisoner, and just so many factors that were going on. I just feel like Makia was smart enough to know that. And well, that's being said and done, there's one freaking dragon left alive, and so Makia is jacking this dragon, and we finally Lelia finally gets to see her daughter for the first time since birth, and has meant the whole world to her forever. And this is where it feels really cool, because more symbolism as it goes. We had, obviously the dragons being chained up in this place to represent power and domination over everything and not changing. And like I said, Lelia, who was this free spirit, got chained up as well into this kingdom and felt useless, But now the dragon is free and Lelia is free. While Makia is flying on this dragon, we have these three loners all alone on a new journey. But we get to see her daughter with one of the maids or something. Medmel is her daughter's name, and she definitely looks like a mix of her parents. But for the first time ever, she gets to see her mother since birth, and she's been curious what her mother looks like, but they haven't allowed her to see her like I have described. Her mom pretty much, jumps right off that ledge and references something from the beginning about flying and taking chances. And Medmel, is like, my mom was beautiful and she was amazing. And even though Lelia tells her to forget about her because sadly, obviously, she wasn't too involved with her life, just being able to see her daughter for once was something that was just truly amazing and beautiful as an experience to both of them, in my opinion. And Makia tells Lelia a very great line to the gist of don't cry. You're never going to forget this. And it hurts, but you won't forget such a beautiful world. And Ariel comes home to Dita, and Dita apologizes for when they were kids and saying that liking his own mom was weird, and she was jealous of it the whole time, and it wasn't that weird because her mother was freaking amazing. And Ariel comes back with another great line that's I was taught to love by my mom, and now we will show our kid what love is because of her. And it's so heart moving and beautiful and animated so good, and it just pulls on your heartstrings. When we go to the next scene, which is many years later, we're talking I'd have to say 60-70 years later, it's gotta be. And Makia comes to see Ariel, who is just old and frail and living in that house that used to be Mito's, which is really cool and sentimental and beautiful, in my opinion. He's got a great grandkid. So that's Makia's great grandkid, this little girl that looks like a mixture of Dita with the beads and Ariel just in the hair color and just acting personality. And it's just absolutely adorable. And we get to meet what would be Makia's granddaughter, great granddaughter. Yes, it's his great granddaughter, because I guess the granddaughter did. Well, either or. It's family genes hurt the head there. But, saying that, they lived a great life, and it's just really sweet and sentimental, obviously, knowing everything was going good for him. And she goes in there with a briefcase and gives Ariel back his hibial. And this is where, like, the real waterworks kind of start for me. Like, I cried quite a bit during this movie, but this is where it really hits. And he clearly has been lying in his bed forever. Like, not forever, for quite a while. He's old, frail, at the end of his life. And after she gives him back the hibial, he tells her welcome back. And she tucks him in. And with a smile, it's not really stated, but he passes on. And after leaving, she finally apologizes, but she cries. She finally cries. Ariel has passed on. It is a very beautiful moment. She waited all of those years, stayed strong as a mother, and finally let it all out. And she's on to start a new chapter with people to always remember. But the thing is, as long as she lives, Ariel will always be in her hibial. It's so bittersweet. It's so sad. But the thing is, it's so realistic and so true to everything. You can't hold on to things. You gotta learn to love. And the thing is that people are gonna die in your life, but you gotta learn to move on and stay strong. Because as long as you're alive, you'll have that memory of them forever. And it's just so touching. Like, it's a real shame that this movie didn't get as big as, like, A Silent Voice or any of those films. I mean, the people that have seen it obviously praise it and love it, but it just didn't get enough attention as I think it deserved. It was so beautiful. The animation's so good. It's PA Works. They did like Akiba Maid Wars and Paripe Komeng, which is obviously after this. But if you haven't seen this, I highly recommend it. And then on top of that, like, moral lesson, we also get just like, moms are amazing. And obviously not everybody's had a great childhood or parent relationship, but that love and support, and there's just so much into this movie that I feel like if you're into just a nice, heartfelt, sad but extremely happy vibe movie, this is gonna be for you. Don't hesitate. Please go watch it. I know this was like kind of sloppy. I took notes, but I was crying a lot of the time, and I just wanted to make a better version of this than my original one was. And I think I have slightly succeeded into that. It's definitely one that I will be watching again in a few months. But like I said, you can't control the flow of eternity, and nothing's forever. But as long as you keep somebody in your heart, they'll live on forever. It's the clan of the partings, you know. It's absolutely beautiful, and that's pretty much all I got for this one. So if you've made it this far, thanks for sticking around. It means a lot to me. If you enjoyed this, I'd really appreciate it if you'd like this video, and if you're feeling real generous, hit that subscribe button. I upload 3 to 4 times a week, usually 2 seasonal reviews at this point, and just kind of a personal video that I want to just do for shits and giggles. I appreciate everybody coming. This has been Squids. Thank you very much, and we'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.